What is up guys, Andy for Steam Runner here, and today we're going to be comparing the Nike Zoomfly 3 to the Nike Pegasus Turbo 2. So welcome back to another video guys, and today I'm delighted to be bringing you guys a comparison on the design and the performance aspect of the Nike Zoomfly 3 versus the Nike Pegasus Turbo 2. These are two shoes that I've bought in 2019 with high hopes, and today I want to go through the pros and cons of both of the shoes and give you my kind of overall verdict on where the land lies with both of these trainers. So if you're excited for today guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so let's start off with the technical comparison. There are some very big similarities between these two shoes and some very big differences. We'll cover all of that now before we get into the performance side. So in terms of what we normally do, we start at the heel, we work our way down the laces to the upper, and then to the midsole and the outsole. So starting with the Zoomfly and the Turbo 2, both of these feature a very thin heel area. Now, this is something that I've experienced in both of these shoes, a little bit of heel slippage. I know a lot of you have commented saying I don't get it, and a lot of you have commented saying you do get it. I get why they've made the area very thin. It's for weight, shedding some weight. And both of these feature a similar design in the inside here. They have two what I call bumper padding sections that sit just below the ankle bone. Very comfortable. I have no issues with that whatsoever. I'm guessing that's just to make sure you have a little bit of protection there rather than just this complete thin material all the way round. But other than that, I've experienced no, other than heel slippage, no blisters, no Achilles issues, nothing there. So that's perfect. Moving on. The difference now is that the Zoomfly 3 has this kind of sock-like slip-on feel in this what we call, or what I would call, wetsuit material. So it's all one piece, there's no separate tongue, whereas the Pegasus Turbo 2 has a very thin material tongue, so it is a separate element there. Both of them, regardless of if they're attached or not attached, is very thin material. Again, I'm guessing to keep the weight out. Moving down to the laces, both of these feature pretty much exactly the same laces in terms of the laces themselves, and the locking lacing system very different. These things use little tabs. The Zoomfly 3 uses tabs to hook in the laces, and the Turbo 2 uses more traditional holes down the side there. Both of them, again, I've experienced no issues with getting a lockdown feel. They both feel absolutely great, but that's pretty much where the similarities end. If we work onto the outsole, the Nike Zoomfly 3 uses Nike's new technology from this year, the Vaporweave. You'll hear a lot about that in the next percents. It was a big deal. It's a bit more waterproof than the old Flyknit that they used to use. Personally, I don't have a problem with the material. It does cause a little bit of ruffling up and around the toe box area here, but to be perfectly honest with you, I don't notice a massive difference. My feet are quite wide, so they do stretch to the edge of the material anyway, so I don't get too much of a ruffling. People with more narrow feet, though, do tend to experience that. Then the difference on the Turbo 2 is that we have a more knitted, machine knitted upper, which goes all the way around. So we've got the Vaporweave material and we've got the knitted material. Now, I can't comment on the fact that running in this thing in the rain, whether it soaks up the water and gets heavier. I haven't run in it in any downpours yet, but so far so good in the Turbo 2. And if we move on to the midsoles, again, another massive difference. The Zoomfly 3 uses a Nike React midsole, whereas the Pegasus Turbo 2 uses the Zoom X midsole. Now, I'm super excited to get the Turbo 2 to experience the Zoom X foam. I can confirm that it is a lovely midsole. It is really, really good. But then if I compare the two, I do actually, if I'm honest, really enjoy the React midsole that you'll find here in the Zoom Fly 3. This shoe has issues, don't get me wrong. If you've seen previous videos, you'll know exactly what they are, but I cannot fault the midsole. And then again, moving on to the outsole, we've got some durable rubber placed in a more high wearing area and here, very similar to what you'll see on the Nike Next Percent, whereas the Turbo 2 has a more all over outsole rubber material. We've got the high wearing rubber here, and again a little bit of exposed midsole there, but that's about it, to be honest with you. So in terms of the technical overviews, both of these shoes are extremely well constructed. I've had no issues with fitting. They fit true to size for me. In terms of weight, they are both very lightweight shoes. Okay guys, so let's dive into the juicy bit, the performance. How have I been finding these shoes? How have they been performing for me? What are the pros and cons? Well, let's start off with the Nike Zoom Fly 3. For those of you who've watched previous videos, you'll understand my frustrations with this shoe, but we will go through all of that now. Just before we start, this shoe has 43 miles in it. This shoe has about 120, 130. This is the newest shoe to my rotation, so I am still playing catch up with this a bit in terms of mileage, but I can safely say that I have put easy runs, workouts and a long run in this shoe already, which is good. So we've done the full suite of runs in it. I'm happy now that I have a good feel of this shoe and I know what it's going to be like going forward. We'll see. We'll start with the Nike Zoom Fly 3. I had the Nike Zoom Fly original, absolutely love that shoe. It was a game changer for me. Bought 2 pairs, used it for 3 marathons, just incredible, and still using it to this day. In fact, I only used it a couple of weeks ago in my latest race. Such a good shoe. And I guess when you go for the next iteration, I missed the middle version, but when you go for the next iteration, you hope as models go on that the technology gets better, the shoes get better, but this thing just unfortunately did not get better. For me, it is such a clunky shoe. It is so front heavy with the carbon plate. I don't know what they've done in this area of the shoe, but it just constantly feels like your foot is dragging you forward. It's the most bizarre feeling, and I did not get that wow factor when I put it on. The vapor weave itself, again, no problem with it. The upper was comfier in the original version. As I said, no problems, no blisters, nothing. This shoe has never given me an issue. I've just got to state that. These are just my personal thoughts on the matter. It's mainly the weight distribution. The shoe is heavier than the original. It's going in the wrong direction. However, I have to say that every time I've worn this shoe, I've raced in it, I've trained in it, I've done long runs in it, it delivers. It delivers the pace, it delivers the duration, it causes no issues, and I can't complain. It's a love-hate relationship with this shoe, and I will continue to use it because I spent so much blimmin' money on it that I am not going to let it go to waste. But it is not something that I look at every day and get inspired and go, this is going to make my run better. So in terms of pros and cons, the weight distribution in this thing is poor. The upper is far less comfy than the original, but the main pro is it delivers and it works. So I'm not going to knock it too much, but would I recommend it for the price it's at? Not a chance. If we move on to the Pegasus Turbo 2, this thing, as I said, is quite new to the rotation. Exciting. This is not so much of a racing shoe that this is, although I do know people that race in this. This is certainly geared up for more racing. This is more, from what I can see and gather, certainly more of a daily trainer that you can do a lot of things with. I've taken it on the trails, I've taken it on the roads. It's working in all scenarios, but I've got to be honest with you, I wouldn't race in it. This is lighter than this thing, but I just don't get that snappiness feeling that I would want in a racer. It's kind of almost feels like it's a little bit of a racing flat, but it's just gone a little bit wrong. It's a bizarre feeling, and actually the weird thing with this shoe is the Zoom X foam is really good. Like comparing the React and the Zoom, I prefer the Zoom X, sorry. It's a better midsole, it feels like it's going to last a duration. Just doing 8 easy miles in it today. Easy runs in this thing are not my favourite thing, but it's just comfortable. My feet feel good, so there's no issues there. The upper is far more comfortable in this thing than this. I much prefer a knitted upper. It just hugs your foot better than this kind of plasticky vapor weave material. And the laces, despite the fact that they're very similar, I prefer the lockdown feeling that I get from this. I didn't get that in the very first run, but I got there in the end. The main downside I feel for me is that I paid £160 for this shoe, and I just don't feel like I'm getting £160 worth of value back from the shoe. The midsole's great, the upper's great, the lockdown's great. I get the heel slippage. And I just, again, I'm not bowled over by the thing. Pros and cons, it's a lighter shoe, the materials are better than this thing. It does work, but I'm just... It's a lighter shoe, the materials are great, the lacing system's good, but that's the problem. It's just, it's good. Is it worth £160? It's really not, in my opinion. I think the bottom line for both of these shoes for me, in terms of pros and cons, is that they both work, they both do their job, but are they worth the money? In my opinion, I've run in far better shoes this year, so I'm gonna have to say no. But of course, I'd love to know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you run in either of these shoes? What are your opinions and what are your comparisons? Have you run in better shoes than these? Do you have better shoes for better specific purposes? I'd love to know your thoughts. So that's it from me today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, share it with your friends, and do consider subscribing to the channel for weekly running content. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. Until then.